Well, folks, it's time to kick it old school. So you can feel cool. Yeah.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Ala's World of Finance. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. Sorry for not uploading a lot recently. I've just been incredibly busy with my job outside of YouTube, but I've made some changes to my schedule and I've moved some things around. And so now I think that I'll have a lot more free time to dedicate to YouTube and to put more content out there. And so we'll definitely be doing some stock market daily videos, hopefully some individual stock analysis videos, and some other kind of financial and just money related videos as well, maybe some introductory videos and things like that. So definitely a lot more content coming, and I also want to reply to people's comments and things like that, and make videos on people's comments. So there's definitely a lot of content coming, so hopefully you will like it. But having said that, today we're going to be talking about AMD, and the reason why is because AMD is actually my second biggest stock. And so if you're new to the channel, you may not know this, but a lot of the longtime viewers know that AMD has been my second biggest stock for a long time. And my number one largest stock is Nintendo, and it's been doing incredibly well, and it's by far my biggest stock. But AMD is definitely my second biggest stock and definitely is a big part of my portfolio. And it's been struggling like crazy. I mean, it's been doing really bad. And so I've been receiving a lot of comments asking me what I think about it. How do I feel about AMD struggling so much? Am I still even invested in it? And so the answer is yes, I'm still invested in it. Still my second biggest stock. But we're going to look a little bit at the stock and see what happens, see why it's kind of struggling. I'm not going to get too detailed because then it would be a really long video. If I went into every single product and things like that, it'd be a super long video. I'm sure you guys will leave comments and give me all the little details that I'm leaving out in the video. But with that being said, let's go ahead and dive right into this. So going into AMD's Q3 earnings, bears were saying that the stock was overvalued, and that's certainly been a common theme, right? With AMD, we've seen it a lot. Everybody's saying that it's overvalued and overpriced, but to be honest, I don't necessarily disagree with them. I just feel that AMD could still deliver even if they're overvalued or even if expectations were a bit too high. But that's definitely a fear that I had, that investors and analysts were going to expect too much and then AMD would not be able to deliver. Well, it turns out that AMD was, to a certain degree, able to deliver it because their numbers in their Q3 earnings were actually not that bad at all. They had beats on gross margins, revenue, and profits. Margin expansion grew to 35%. They had earnings profitability, and they grew their revenue by 26% year on year. Net income was also up $477 million year over year. So why did it drop? Well, I've heard many different reasons, and I'm not sure which ones I believe the most, but certainly a couple bearish arguments had to do with Epic sales taking too long and gross margins only being good because of IP-related revenue, which, by the way, Lisa Su and AMD were a little bit mysterious about in their earnings call, and it sort of felt like they didn't really want to address that topic too much. I believe it's also received a few downgrades from analysts. I don't remember off the top of my head which ones were the most recent, but I do remember AMD having some issues with Goldman Sachs, Barclays, Morgan Stanley. All of those come to mind. I'm pretty sure that they've all downgraded AMD in the past, and that's just to name a few, really. So on top of all of that, competitors like Intel and Nvidia are stepping up their game, and they have been, and they're adding a lot of pressure to AMD to keep up and to compete with them. And we also saw that short interest has been extremely high, right? So we know that that can definitely have an impact, but certainly if the stock does better later, right, if any good news comes out and the stock does well, then you could definitely see a short squeeze, and so it could actually turn into a positive. But at the moment, the fact that there's so much shorting going on in AMD stock, it's technically a negative right now, but it could potentially be a positive if you kind of get that short squeeze on any like really good news, right? Now, to be honest, I don't think that the whole Epic argument is really a fair argument. We know that it can take a long time to get the server segment moving, and AMD does have partnerships with JD.com, Tencent, Baidu, Microsoft, and even Amazon, who have all stated that they'll be using Epic. So I don't think that it's really a great excuse for the stock to be hurting as badly as it is. But I do think that the impatience mixed with all the other little things can definitely add up and can obviously hurt a stock, especially when that stock is named AMD, which is up over like 300% in the last couple of years, right? So any kind of bad news is definitely going to hurt a stock like AMD. Now, is the stock overvalued? Yeah, it probably is. But at these prices right now, we've seen it at like $10. I think I've even seen it dip below $10 into the $9 range. And it could certainly go lower. I'm not saying that it's not going to. But at these prices, I think with all of AMD's potential, I mean, I just think why not? I actually picked up more stock, to be honest. But, and that's just my choice. I'm not telling you guys to do that. But I'm just saying, that's kind of how I see it. Now, I know that analysts used to predict $4.10 billion in revenue, which is now at 5.25, and some analysts are actually saying that it could reach $6 billion next year with GAAP profitability. One report I was reading actually mentioned that AMD is trading at around 1.88 times next year's projected sales, while Intel trades at 3.26 and Nvidia trades at 11.7. So talking about AMD being overpriced, I mean, it's actually kind of cheap when you look at those numbers. Now, obviously, I did kind of pull those numbers out. If you change the numbers or if you look at other, other measurements, then you could argue that the other ones are cheaper, and we could go back and forth all day. But that's just kind of one example. By the way, I listed all of the reports that I looked at in the description below. So if you want to look at these reports and you want to look at more numbers and more figures and base your opinion off of that, make sure to click those links. You can look at all those reports. It's not like affiliate links or anything like that. It's just information that's out there. Now, having said that, I'm not saying that those other companies like Nvidia and Intel, I'm not saying that they don't deserve those high valuations, because they are valued pretty high, but I'm not saying that they don't deserve that. I'm just saying that with all the talk about AMD being overvalued all the time, and again, while I don't necessarily disagree with those arguments, I just personally don't care all that much. I think that AMD is going to bounce back, and I'm sure that many of the partnerships with the companies that I listed earlier, working with Epic, I'm sure that they are going to be small deals with Epic to sort of test the waters at first. But if they're happy, which I think that they will be with the performance of Epic, then I expect those orders to become much larger and only help AMD in 2018 and beyond. And we know that around 10 years ago, AMD's Opteron offering helped AMD gain around 25% of the market and then lost it over the next few years, right? But AMD's roadmap as of right now, and as far as products go, is much more complete. And I think that the higher profit margins, which is another reason why the stock is suffering right now, will come over time. And so, maybe not necessarily 2018, but, maybe at the end of 2018 and maybe in the next couple years, I really see it kind of ramping up and AMD doing a lot better. And so I'm looking forward to Zen 2 and Zen 3 and all the revenue that will be generated from Ryzen, Semi-Custom Solutions, Polaris, and of course, Epic. And so again, I have to say that I'm thinking long-term with AMD. I'm investing with money that I don't really need, and so I have no reason to panic or sell right now or anytime soon. And so we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, we'll see. But that's what I love about stocks. I love being the underdog. I was investing in Nintendo when nobody else would touch it, and right now it's my biggest stock, and I think it's actually tripled ever since I bought it. So I'm fine. I'll be patient, I'll wait, and maybe the stock will continue to drop, but that's okay. I'm thinking long term anyway, and it's my choice to make and not really anybody else's, right? So we'll see what happens with that. With that being said, I want to say thank you so much for watching. Like I said, more videos are coming. If you love AMD, leave a comment. If you hate AMD, leave a comment. If you're new, please subscribe. If you want more videos like this, then hit the like button. And if you watch the video all the way through, then I'm going to say that you are Nintendo, because while AMD was my second biggest stock and struggling, you guys kept me afloat, and so I appreciate that. And with that, I want to say that I hope you all have a wonderful, beautiful day and that you take care. Bye.